Yo. You know what time it is. We're back with the Men Who Cry podcast. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, review. If you don't do that, we're already here to know what kind of person that you are in this world. On today's episode, we will be recapping the championship games from this past week and hit very little on the NBA, National Basketball Association. We'll start off with the worser of the two games. We will talk about Commanders, Eagles. The Commanders got washed in the game. Let me bring you guys in a little bit on my day-to-day. So, obviously, I have a real job and life, and things can kind of come up at times. And so, I try to be as consistent as I can with this pod. But when you make mistakes or you don't release episodes where you predict who's going to win both games, you can't really get credit for it. I thought the Eagles were going to smash the Commanders simply because Saquon has been going off against the Commanders each game they played. And your only one advantage is your rookie quarterback going up against the number one defense in the NFL. And to be clear, I think Jaden Daniels played well enough to win. And it's tough to see that you can't make those kind of mistakes in a normal game. You definitely can't make those mistakes on the road in an NFC Championship game. That's recipe of you getting smashed. And the fact was that Washington at no point really showed they could stop the Eagles. And so you had a game where they dropped 55 points in a game that seemed close. I mean, it was only 11-point game about to be into the fourth quarter until Austin Eckler fumbled the ball, and then the game was basically done after that point. Second Super Bowl for the Eagles in 3 years. First Super Bowl for Saquon Barkley. This Eagles team, to me, is the most talented team that was heading into the playoffs healthy. The fact that they were able to basically plug all their holes with coaching hires, their two coordinators, getting Saquon Barkley and Zach Brom, who never in my life thought was this good of a player. I don't think anyone thought he was this good of a player. And they're two rookies in the secondary, especially two rookies in the secondary. That's massive for them. As much as I can't stand this team, as much as it sucks, it is what it is. And following up with the Chiefs victory, I think this is very much the Super Bowl, not that we wanted, but Super Bowl that we deserve as Americans. Once the dream died of Ravens-Lions, this seemed like it was an inevitability because the Bills once again fell to the Chiefs. And I think the overall conversation about the Bills, and more specifically Josh Allen, is I do believe that eventually they will break through. I think Josh Allen is too talented. I think they're coached too well. And no guy is going to run off, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight Super Bowl appearances, right? Like, you would figure whether there's an injury, whether it's bad luck, whether it's timing, like, you're just not going to play your best when your best is required at all times. But you don't want to hear that. You guys are fucking pissed. I'd be pissed too. All right. You're losing to the same guy every single year in different ways. On the road, at home, close, blowouts. Like, it's just a tough pill for you guys to swallow at the moment, just because everyone keeps telling you that you're going to do something, yet you don't actually have the evidence to show that you're going to do the thing that people keep telling you that you're going to do. But yeah, I think for Josh specifically, I don't think Josh played bad, but I feel as if we don't talk about the Kansas City Chiefs defense enough, because they've clearly been able to keep them in positions to always win games. And ultimately, they've succeeded now in back-to-back years of keeping Allen out of the end zone, or out of really getting a field goal in the final minutes of the game. Back-to-back years, right? For Josh, you had the ball in your hand 3 weeks ago and 3 timeouts. That's plenty of time for you to win the game. You could have bled the clock all the way down, move the ball, get to your spot, and it's just the fact is that they just don't seem able to get that drive. There's just one drive you need. Career changes like that. So we will be getting, like I said, the Super Bowl that we all deserve, I believe. Media Week's going to be fantastic to watch overall, with everything and anything that will be covered on these two teams. For me, I'm rooting for the halftime. Yes, we will be rooting for halftime. SZA is now added to the halftime show. Funny enough, I was just having this conversation with someone and trying to figure out what the track list will be. Man, he can't do that song. We all know what song I'm talking about. You know, when you start calling people pedophiles, he's not gonna be able to do that record. But you'll be damn sure if that instrumental's not gonna hit. Some marching band shit, whatever they need. Like, it is going to be an event at that time. I'm excited. Someone was explaining to me too, this is the first, and I guess I didn't really think about it in this way, but this is the first hip hop artist solo, one guy. You know, we had Dr. Dre, but it was Dr. Dre and Mariah Carey. It was Dr. Dre, Eminem, 50 Cent came out the end, Kendrick, and Mary J. Blige, which was, I guess you could, Snoop was there too. That was that one. I know Travis Scott did the show in Atlanta with Maroon 5, and was Bruno Mars there? I know Maroon 5 was there. That one was not good. But the best part of that was the SpongeBob chorus or whatever that came through. But yeah, first time for Kenny. I think it's going to be great. But we'll see. We'll see how this works out with them. All right. Transitioning now to the NBA. I don't think people realize, and unfortunately, maybe this is just the way that the NFL just soaks up all the oxygen in the air, but we only got about 35-ish games left in the season. Like, I think because of the way the NFL has expanded in terms of games played and pushing the Super Bowl back to where it is, the NBA has essentially been following suit. So normally what it used to be was there was at least a natural default line with the All-Star game, right? All-Star game would always be around like 40-ish games or so that they would play it, maybe around the 50 game mark. You would like have the game start, and then you'd have the back half of the season, right? So you're playing, the last like 39 games or whatever. The fact that we are now not even at the All-Star break. All-Star break's not for another 3 weeks. All-Star game doesn't start until Valentine's Day. There's only 35 games left. We're well past the halfway point. And I feel as if people, maybe overall media circuits, have just clearly showed they've made a direction that they do not care about the NBA regular season. They have shown us in multiple ways. But, like, we're only going to have about 20 some odd games before we get to the All-Star break. And I think the idea of who is a contender, who is pretending, who's playing well, who has actually had a chance to win the championship, they will cover a little bit on later podcasts. But the idea that we're just not talking about this is just flatly insane. But the main story to us this week, and the main thing we're going to talk about, is what's happening in Miami with the Miami Heat. As we've recording this now, Jimmy Butler has officially been suspended indefinitely. This is coming off his suspension off a 2-game road trip from the Heat. This is also following a 7-game suspension he just filed for another road trip. So he wasn't playing any road games. And what it seems to have stemmed from is the fact that believe that they were informed Jimmy that he was coming off the bench, which made him pretty pissed and walked out of practice. And so they suspended him indefinitely. So there's a lot of basketball angles that people can talk about this. I'm not really interested in that part of it. I think the way that people can look at this and just relate to this is very much just the the downfall of a employer and an employee kind of relationship. And the fact is that the employer seems to be flexing his muscles way more now than we've seen in the past, especially in the NBA. So basically, one thing that I feel like we should learn from great movies such as Rush Hour, I believe it was Rush Hour, Rush Hour 2, where Chris Tucker was talking to Jackie Chan, and there was a crime that took place in China. And in the movie, they're heading back to America. And I believe they're heading back to San Francisco specifically. And so they're on the plane, and Jackie Chan asks Chris Tucker, he's like, why are we heading back to America? And then he said, I'm going to tell you something my daddy told me a long, long time ago. Follow the rich white man. And sure enough, that's where the crime happened. And the reason why I mentioned that, I bring that up, is because this is all over money. This ain't about nothing else special. This is simply just about the fact that the Heat made a decision in the offseason not to pay Jimmy. Jimmy's pissed. Jimmy wants to get paid. Hence why Jimmy wants to go to the Suns, because the Suns are the only team that can pay him. And now you making him look crazy, or now you're making the whole situation look crazy, right? Because Pat Riley is so dug into this. And this is basically just about ego now. Now it's just looking like it's just a pissing contest, and who's going to win this pissing contest. And in between all of this, the Heat are like a mediocre team. Like, would they be better if Jimmy was playing? Absolutely, they'd be better. But now they're caught in a very much a quagmire of their own doing, in the sense that they didn't trade the guy when they probably should have traded him. Jimmy's now not playing for y'all at all, which just objectively makes your team worse. And I don't think they're going to trade him at the deadline. Like, you got Phoenix, aka the dude at the table who just can't stop gambling. My man needs to hit the 1-800-HOPE line, because he can't stop what he's doing. They've just tripled down on their bets. You don't think that if they made that trade with the Jazz to trade their future picks to get those 3 picks back, they would have had Jimmy by now? Miami don't want that mid-pack. They don't want Beal. So they can split up their picks as much as they want. It very much seems that Miami's just not taking on that Beal contract. And I don't really know where else you're going to send him. And you can't really send him nowhere, because he's got no trade clause. Like, this speaks so highly. I know we're getting a little off topic with the Heat thing. This speaks so highly of Kevin Durant. And I think over the last couple of years, I've grown more fondly of Durant, of just saying whatever the hell he wants online, and basically be more of himself. I think I've just accepted him more as a human, honestly. But this man left Golden State. He went to the Nets, and that shit just blew up in his face. The Kyrie, the vaccine, the James Harden, everything that happened with the Nets. They won 1 playoff series. He's now been in Phoenix this will be his 3rd playoff run that he will have with the Suns. They have won 1 playoff series, and they might not make the playoffs. And he's going to have such a weird career, where you can argue he's going to be one of the just talent base. He's so clearly one of the 20 best players to ever play the game of basketball. And he is going to be so lacking in accomplishments. Like, just lacking in them. Like, he'll have the All-Stars, he'll have All-NBAs. I think his points per game will be there, but he's missed a lot of time playing games. He's been hurt a lot. But again, I got another guy bad at picking employers, just really bad at that. And so when you realize, when you're in an employer and employee relationship that is just deteriorating like this, the employer is always just going to do what's best for the bottom line, And I think with the new CBA and the power that it gave really the general managers, it's been something that has cheapen and strip the players of any type of ability to move the way that they wanted to. That's why anytime, because, unfortunately we have to hit this button anytime things happen, right? Like, oh, is Giannis going to ask for a trade? And I guess you can argue Giannis is a very much different situation than Jimmy. Much younger, still in his prime. Arguably MVP candidate. I wouldn't be surprised if he had asked for a trade if he were not to be moved. However, they're just not teams that can trade for him. And I think the thing that the CBA has done with this has really been killing that big in-season trade. I think big trades happen, as we've seen in the last couple of off seasons. The Karl-Anthony Towns trade is the one that comes to mind. With now this CBA impact, but there are just not too many teams that can really make these moves. And I think what's happened, and unfortunately what people ain't realized, is, like I said before, it's the way the pendulum has swung way more in the owner/executive's favor than the players. And listen, CJ McCollum, I don't know that brother. I don't know who was advising him, but this deal is fucking terrible for the players. I don't know what they got out of any of this. You can't move now. You're getting paid less money. You're getting paid less years. And ultimately, and I say this a lot about athletes, I feel like this is a very unfortunate truth for them, is for the vast majority of them, the 99% of them, right? They aren't rooting for you. They're rooting for the jersey that you wear. And once players understand that more and more, it's not really about what you're doing. A lot of times fans just care about what the team's doing. Now, it's not for everyone, but that is the vast majority of the players out there dealing with this. So we'll see if Jimmy gets his money back. I mean, he's going to lose at least $18 million. He's not playing the rest of the season, potentially, if he doesn't get moved. So I don't know how you bring him back if you're the Heat. Do you just wait and just trade him in the offseason? I think that's their best case for them. And yeah, that's basically how I think this bad boy's gonna go for them. But yeah, thank you guys again for listening. We'll have another episode well before the Super Bowl, so you'll get my Super Bowl takes on who I think will be winning the big game. We don't have any paid ads yet, so I don't gotta say big game yet or anything like that. But yeah, big as the Super Bowl. But yes, thank you guys again. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, rate, do all that good stuff for me. And again, I'll talk to you guys in a couple of days.